Everybody, to tonight's city council meeting. If you can please stand, we'll recite the pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Wood. Here. Councilmember Conrad Wilbers.
Here.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Here.
Mayor Harris.
Here.
Councilmember Donovan.
Here.
Councilmembers Roman. Here. Mayor Pro Tem Blue.
Here. All right, item 3, reading and consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting held on January 9. Any changes or corrections to those minutes? Seeing none, they are approved as submitted. I will entertain a motion to adjourn as a city council and to reconvene as the Board of Zoning Appeals. So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now we are convened as the Board of Zoning Appeals. Item 4, consideration of an application to request a variance to allow the construction of an attached garage that approaches into the rear yard and side yard setbacks at 115 Lakeshore Road. The applicant and its representatives, please approach the podium. We need names and a home address, please.
Hello, good evening. My name is Rob Knapp from 115 Lakeshore.
Good evening. My name is Lars Greitner, principal of Volume 1 Design Studio Detroit at 1100 Parker Street in Detroit.
Good evening, my name is Ron Latif. I'm with MHB Companies in Grosse Pointe, and we're here as the construction consultant.
So who's presenting the project? Thank you.
Okay, so we the project of Mr. Knapp, the renovation of 115 Lakeshore Road consists of an addition on top of the building, a small addition, as well as the extension of the garage, in order to create a more feasible project altogether, more usable rooms for the family to use with, as well as accommodating modern, size cars and increase the value to the appropriate value. So the extension of the garage encroaches into the setback. We're aware of that, and this is why we're here today to apply for a variance. We're projecting up 12 feet from the setback, but we still maintain a 25-foot apron in front of the garage in order to maneuver the vehicles and still maintain appropriate space to the neighbor to not encroach into the privacy of the neighbor. There are no views from the neighbors into this corner of the, where the different lots meet, and I can show that. So this is the garage. This is the entrance area here, new addition on top, which accentuates the entrance, but also creates a master suite there, and it creates a really nice forecourt. And the proportions of the building will create, composition of harmony. We're trying to, complement that with more materials which we haven't selected yet, to create a by contrast to the existing building, but still to respect the existing structure. The site plan is such that the garage is here. The pool is not planned at the moment, placeholder, and the addition on top to really create a really good assembly here. You see, this is a bit too small. So you see here, maybe the neighboring buildings are quite far away. The closest is the garage or shed of the neighbors to the west. So we're really hoping that it does not encroach at all into other neighbors' privacy. Here you see that addition. See the garage. We tried to push the garage as much into or overlap into the existing smaller garage. The north side of the garage here on the west side, rather, is somewhat dilapidated. The garage door would need to be replaced anyway on some of the structure. We took like half of the existing garage away and then replaced it with a more contemporary proportion garage with 3 cars. And it still has ample space to the neighbor. And you see here is the composition of the entranceway. Okay, so,
So additionally, on a couple other points that I just wanted to make before we discuss it further openly. 3 things. One is the existing garage, as it currently stands, has a very challenging turning radius that creates, in my opinion, a safety issue for entering egress from the garage. There's currently what I would call walls extending out on both sides that sort of narrow the opening going to the garage area. So getting in and getting out of it currently is challenging. This is going to push things out a little further. And because we are not encroaching on what's already the existing side yard, we're hoping to keep that in line with what's existing currently on that particular side yard. Secondly, Rob has a very young children, and if he often works, can work late at the hospital, depending on his schedule. So the current walls also kind of block from plain sight anyone pulling in. So from a second safety perspective, we'd like to eliminate that opportunity. So if she's pulling up the driveway, she has plain view of the openings going into the garage so that no one could be potentially, behind there or something else and, come out as she's pulling in the drive. Because it is, as it's positioned right now, it's right at the corner, obviously, of Lakeshore Newberry. So it's on or off a very, busy street. So those are just the couple of bullet points that I wanted to add to Lars's description of the actual building. And to know that, as he mentioned, the exterior product has not been selected yet, and we are discussing options for how we are going to keep the old brick, modernize the old brick look to give it a newer look. And like I said, we have not established what that exterior is going to be at this point in time.
All right, anything else?
No, that's all.
Well, I know Mr. Woods can ask you a question, so I'm gonna preempt it. So what's your hardship?
Practical difficulty.
Practical difficulty, yes, practical difficulty. Sorry.
So the practical difficulty, I think, is twofold. One is the current opening is, like I said, the practical difficulty of getting a more modern vehicle into that opening is a little bit challenging because it's only about a 14.5-foot opening currently, and there's no sides at all available once you pull in. There's only 16 inches on either side of the door opening, which really precludes you from having a viable space. Secondly, and I think more importantly, truly is the safety issue of pulling in and out of there. Potential for scraping your car, damaging your vehicle, all kinds of things that present itself probably from a safety perspective are probably more important than the first.
Go ahead, Lenny. Continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. What is your practical difficulty? And it seems like you're being very specific about the safety hazards here, and I can understand that. What is the age of the building? When was this constructed? In the 50s? So not up to our current what we call design standards. And also, is this going to be, you're going to be driving in from the backside and then you're going to take a left turn into, is that how I see it? Okay.
Here's the street.
That's
Newberry Street, and you would drive in like this. You have an apron large enough, 25 feet here, and then exit. So the good thing is that you don't see this as a garage. You can design the facade here to not look like a garage, with the flat window, and we don't see the garage doors. So that's also a problem.
And so I guess you'd be saying that your variance would provide substantial benefits to you that you're currently not enjoying, because you're going to be getting a 3-car garage. Many people who live not only on Lake Shore, but also the houses on Newbury have, not all of them, but many of them have 3-car garages. So you're,
With our growing family, I have a 2.5-year-old, a 6-month-old, and we're planning on having another child in the future. And as much as I want to fight getting a minivan, I'm not sure we could fit 2 vehicles of that size in the current garage here.
Sir, Councilman Issue is something.
Maybe a suburban.
and my last question, gentlemen, is you're asking for 2 variances. One is the side yard variance, which you need to because this is currently a legally non-conforming property, correct?
Correct.
So you're not changing that, but in order to do the work, you have to come to us because of the nature of the fact that this is currently non-conforming. You want to make sure that we give you the variance for that, even though the side yard setback's not changing. I want to be clear about that, right?
That is 100% correct. The current side yard setback is established.
Okay. All right, thank you. No more questions. Yeah, thanks, Lou.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Knapp and Dr. Knapp, excuse me, and colleagues, I live close to this property. It's been a complete disaster for years. I'm in favor of your project, and I look forward to seeing a well-manicured residence that we don't have to be afraid of. We don't have to send a city crews over there to cut the grass. Look forward to it, sir.
Dr. Knapp, I too come to the podium.
Yeah.
Because just I compliment you on making sure that this home is no longer an eyesore. I do have a question though. I drove by today and your neighbors have, garages or elevations that are higher than yours. I would assume that you have talked to your next door neighbors, is that correct?
We've met a few of them, we purchased the house back in July, so my wife and I have been doing yard work and trying to, I'm sure you've seen the overgrowth, and so we've been out there actively trying to improve the facade while we're waiting for, all the plans to renovate the house. So we met a few of the neighbors. I don't think I've met, I think I've met 2 of the 4. So I can't say that I have spoken to all.
Right. The one next door directly might be, a good thing to do. or something.
Yeah.
And also, across the street, I think we just approved a variance not too long ago for a 3-car garage. Did we not? On Newbury? Was some type of variance there? Well, it doesn't matter, but I'm inclined to give approval. Thank you.
I do have one of our neighbors here.
I'm happy to speak.
Here.
But we'll take you in a minute, but thank you, yeah. But Derek, letters went out to the neighbors?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay, good.
Yeah,
You're
that's
done?
it. I wanted,
Okay.
I just wanted to ask if there were any letters submitted, in objection to the project. I didn't receive that. Okay, thank you.
Joe?
No questions.
Sierra?
I have no questions.
Okay, no further questions from council. Anybody from the public like to speak on this? Oh, look at that, we have somebody in back.
Clearly, I'm itching to speak on this one. Good evening, sorry for the excitement.
Name and address.
Landon Tracy, 2 Cherryhurst Lane. To echo your comments, this has been a disaster since day one. I'm from Grosse Pointe. I met my wife, Christine Fickney, in Chicago in 2013, and we moved back here. Nobody has lived in that house since we moved back here. In the last 10 years, it has changed hands repeatedly. And as a result, we have now had a serious rodent problem, opossums, raccoons. Now we've got a coyote to throw in the mix as well.
I sent it your way, but I got rid of mine.
Yeah, I know somebody mentioned safety concerns. The police were called because there was a homeless person in the garage this summer. As it relates to meeting Mr. Knapp, I have met him and he's a savior for all the neighbors around him. And I speak very closely to people, the Joneses, who live on the corner of Cherryhurst, and they are certainly supportive of everything Mr. Latif and Mr. Knapp do. They will be, trust me, great assets to that street because it has turned into kind of a zoo.
What's your address again, Mr. Tracy?
2 Cherryhurst Lane in the middle house.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Seeing no more, interest of public.
Actually, I just have one.
Oh, well, good, right to go. So public comment is closed. Council, there you go. We have the zoning board,
I just wanted to verify that there's, our concern here is specifically the setback variances on the rear and the side. There's no size concerns or anything like that we have to be aware of. That's, because I know there's an expansion, increase in size, so I just wanted to make sure that's the fact. If that's the case, I'm happy to propose a motion.
Fire away.
All right. I move that the appeals application submitted on December 16th, 2022 from Dr. Robert Knapp for the 555 square foot expansion of the existing attached garage be granted, thereby authorizing the issuance of a building permit to construct a structure that encroaches into the required rear yard setback by approximately 12 feet, resulting in a new rear setback of 28 feet versus 40 feet as required in the R1AA district. This home is an existing non-conforming structure with a side yard setback of 5 feet 8 inches versus 15 feet as required in the R1AA district, that the new expanded structure will continue to comply with. To reach this decision, we have reviewed Mr. Matt Baca's memo dated February 13th, 2022, the applicant's appeals application dated December 16th, 2022, the detailed review letter from McKenna dated February 3rd, 2022, and the applicant's comments tonight. Potential factual findings indicate that a strict application of the zoning ordinance would result in a practical difficulty for the user of the property due to the unique property on Lake Shore Road with a side yard setback that has already been out of conformance with current zoning requirements. Several properties in the area and several properties in and around the area that have large detached garages, but that likely encroach on the setback requirements. And the proposed project does not generate any concerns relative to the harmony of existing buildings in the district. This variance is in harmony with and serves the intended purposes of this ordinance is because, number one, the variance will not result in a substantial variation from the requirements of the ordinance. The variance will not result in increased population density. The variance will not adversely affect the government services or character of the district. The proposed addition is in harmony with the masonry construct, which is the predominant type of surrounding residences in the district. The proposed variance meets the standards of Article 25. The variance will result in substantial justice being done because the hardship, if a variance is not granted, would be significant and likely render the owner unable to garage larger modern vehicles and make ingress and egress less safe for its residents. The property in question is unusual in its size and configuration and thus making it truly unique. And there are no other viable alternatives that would obviate the hardship and that the hardship was not self-created. The proposed variance will not substantially interfere with or injure the rights of persons whose property is affected by the proposed variance. Approval of this variance is subject to the following conditions. Number one, that the new building additions to be clad in siding or brick veneer or will be in the same style as the existing house. The landscape plan as submitted will be incorporated in the final project. You could say will be in the final project. The proposed garage expansion will improve the aesthetics of the house, which should be of benefit to the surrounding properties. And four, no information was received regarding objections of the project from neighboring owners. The Board of Zoning, that's it.
You have a motion. All right, we're on second. All right, roll call. Gary? Sorry. We need five votes to pass. So just so you know.
Oh, yes.
Councilmember Conrad Wilbur.
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilmember Donovan.
Yes.
Councilmember Zerota.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Good luck on your project. When do you plan on starting?
Once completed, construction drawings are back to engineering, will start immediately. So within the next 30 days.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Very excited to be a part of the community.
Thank you. Glad to have you.
We're good neighbors, probably boring neighbors compared to who's been in that house before. Boring maybe good. Yeah.
Boring is good enough. Thank you.
Put a leash on that coyote.
Yeah. He's not paying very good rent. but-
Yes. Item B, consideration of an application to request a variance to allow the construction of a garage roof that exceeds 15 feet in height at 219 Cloverleaf Road. Will the applicant please proceed to the podium?
Good evening again. Ron Latif for MHB Companies, applicant on behalf of Mr. and Mrs. Fred Ransford, who are also with us this evening.
Hi, my name is Fred Ranford, just bought the property at 219 Clover in July. And we're looking for variance to basically provide storage above the garage.
So what we're proposing is removing the existing flat roof from the current detached garage, which is set in the setback to the kind of rear of the driveway. And in its place, putting in a pitched roof to match exactly the gables of the existing home, along with the slate roof to also match the slate that's genuine to the original home. Additionally, Mr. Ransford has requested that we put some attic storage in, which will be used strictly for storage. That space will accommodate larger items, which Mr. Ransford has from time to time needs to store, especially during the winter. And we're going to use a slightly larger attic staircase system to accommodate some larger product going up there. That being said, we're hoping that we eliminate, but with the pitch roof also, the need to, do anything that may require a problem down the road, such as replacing the existing roof with a torch down roof, which could be problematic in a lot of ways. And we try to avoid that if we could, from safety concern, because I know the fire department would appreciate that if we don't have to employ their services. So that being said, if you have any questions on the structure itself, I'm all ears to, and the goal is to replicate as closely as possible the existing home.
Questions from council? No, fire away.
Same question that we asked previously, we would like to know what your practical difficulty is in terms of complying with the ordinance.
So the largest practical difficulty on this particular item is the fact that the existing home, which was built a long time ago, is problematic for egress in and out of the existing home to get to the basement for storage. It's almost impractical to try to get anything down in L-shaped shaped basement stairs that's sort of narrow, to say the least. And with some of the things that Mr. Ransford likes to store currently at his home, that are, seasonal stuff, it's almost impossible that he'd be able to get those items to, up and down the basement stairs. And because Mr. Ransford also has a nice car collection, all of the garage bays themselves will be occupied with vehicles.
I go with that. I'll go to her this time.
I think that in addition to any type of questions on practical difficulty, I also think there's an aesthetic situation here. Having driven past the home, this garage would be a great improvement aesthetically over the one that's there now. You have a beautiful home. You bought a beautiful home and it's gorgeous, and I think that it would certainly add to the property value of it. I'm going to wait and defer to my other council members as far as practical difficulties.
No questions, sir?
I do. If you could just share a little bit about whatever you need this additional storage for, perhaps discussing the value of the benefit of having this additional storage.
So, having visited the Ransford's existing home and their existing detached garage in the park, which I will tell you that I've not been through a more impeccably done home in probably 32 years of construction at this point in time than their current residence. It is absolutely impeccable. That being said, Mr. Ransford is particular about those items which he transferred, carries in and out of their home. Okay, so these are going to be longer items, possibly lawn furniture, things like that, possibly things that he may use, wood shop things.
Well, mostly there's a lot of seasonal things for winter, Christmas, and we'll take summer stuff up to the top and then bring the winter stuff out. My wife does a lot of decorating and pots and things like that, and she has a lot of stuff up there that we have to store. You carry it into the basement, you gotta go to the kitchen, around the corner, and then down, and then down the stairs, make left turns.
So, and further answer your question, anything that would be in length of over 8 feet in length would be almost impossible to get down the basement stairs, based on the L-shaped design of the current stairs. And maybe it's even shorter than that, maybe even 7 feet. So, I'm not sure if that answers it. fully.
So are these items valuable, like something you just wouldn't want to store outside?
Oh, no,
We're looking at the practical difficulty.
right. Put them on the floor outside, but all in the room. Not in the.
So your typical attic pull-down staircase is between 20 and 24 inches wide. We're incorporating in our design a 32-inch wide pull-down stair system that has handrails and larger treads, so that, you know, getting these things up and down into what amounts to, I think it's a 9.5 foot long opening, 9 by 32 in the ceiling, really will give them that flexibility.
Yeah, I mean, from a practical difficulty standpoint, believe me, I get it. I live in a house on Moran, and we have a similar kind of L-shaped thing. I honestly never even thought of the idea of increasing the height of my garage to fix the problem. The way we've dealt with the situation is we open the side door and go around the building in order to get our stuff downstairs. Because I have this exact same difficulty. So I feel you, but I also know that we're trying to be equitable to everybody involved. Now, we had a few months ago, and I know it's important to note that whenever we do any sort of variance, that shouldn't establish a precedence from one to another, but we did a couple of months ago allow someone else to go in height to increase the height of the garage. But we have a pretty firm standard on height of secondary buildings on properties. So I kind of get a little lost in this. This is more of a comment than a question, but I understand this.
I think I have an idea here, but
Yeah.
I'll let John go, you might have the same idea, I'm sure.
I'm not sure I have the same idea. I've read with interest the reports of our engineer who indicates that the overall property will be improved, that it won't interfere with the neighbors' properties, will actually add to them. I agree, I'm gonna support it. I agree that the practical difficulty might not be expressed as such that we hear in other matters, or that we heard a few minutes ago. But, Mr. Mayor, I'd be interested to hear your proposal.
And I have one more
Sure.
question, because I have in my notes, expensive woodworking materials and tools would be stored there as well, or some expensive tools.
So there are things that, again, I would say that in visiting, like I've said, their existing home, some of the things that they store in their garage would be considered expensive, in my opinion. I think in most people's opinion, some of the woodworking products that are used by Mr. Ransford from time to time. And, you know, but more importantly, to that note, is that other than basic electricity and lighting, okay, which will be just for purposes of, you know, seeing what's up there at some point in time, there's no consideration for any other upgrades or improvements to the building. You know, to help, in case anyone has any questions on that.
Yes, I would like to support this. So we're waiting to hear additional comments.
Okay, so let me see if I can try to help us. You have an existing size of the garage, so you have to deal with the size of the garage as it is, right?
That's correct.
And it would be a practical difficulty to put any other roof on there because you inherited the size of the garage. And to create the slope and manner of a roof that matches the scale of the house, you would be able to do another roof that was more in line with the ordinance. Is that correct?
I think that sounds accurate.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Was a slow pitch softball. Yes, I inflated that beach ball and. So, and that any other lower roof, pitch roof would be out of harmony with the existing house because you have to deal with a roof that matches the current garage size and would likewise not create any storage space because the pitch would be so flat, you would have unusable upper space and the area would be relatively useless.
I believe that to be correct.
Okay,
So Louis, can we synthesize this a little bit? Make it, there was a lot of back and forth, so could you explain exactly what you had just said again?
sure. So the gentleman bought the property as is with the garage of its existing size. To be able to put a roof on it and remove a flat roof and to create a roof that provides some storage, provides better, frankly, rain protection than flat roofs do. And to meet the harmony of the house in terms of scale and appearance, he has to build a roof according to the size of that garage. And that requires a roof that's outside of the ordinance. And the practical difficulty is he would not be able to achieve that any other fashion because he has to accept the garage as is. And therefore he has to exceed and comes here for the variance because he has to go to a higher roof.
Right. And it's not self-created.
Correct. Because you can't say you bought the house and the garage is what it is, what it is.
That's a critical thing. Okay.
All right, any other questions on council? All right, anybody in the public have any questions or comments? Come on up, give us your name and address, please.
Hey, Gary, it's Joseph Fisher. My question I had was, will there allow people to build a garage, make sure there's nothing, it's just storage, there's no allowed to any kind of work up there? That's my concern, there's nothing, just for storage only, so.
Right, well, there'll be a light, there'll be electric so you can see it, so I'm sure,
I
but
understand
no
that.
water and all that.
When you say, if you have worker and tools, you're gonna have power to run machinery, that way.
Downstairs, you have power, I've got power.
Okay,
right now, actually.
okay.
Yeah. Anybody else, come on, name and address, please.
Dave Brooks, 215 Clovery, I live immediate next door. From an aesthetic viewpoint, I think this will improve the property and frankly improve the appearance for the whole block.
Thanks, David. Anybody else in the public? Seeing none, public comment is closed. Any other questions on council? If not, I see Mr. Ritchie scribbling away. Yeah,
That's right, I don't figure that last one in. All right, so I have the motion here. I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the variance request submitted on January 24th by Mr. Ron of MHD Builders on behalf of the owner, Mr. Ted Ransford, for the construction of a new garage / accessory structure, which is in an R1 dwelling district. As proposed, the structure would be 1.5 stories with a height of 20 feet 6 inches with a maximum of 15 feet permitted per zoning ordinance. This garage would exceed the maximum height by 5 feet 6 inches. The recent decision we reviewed Mr. Nakabaka's memo dated February 20, 2023. The applicant's application for hearing dated January 24th. The detailed review letter from McKenna dated February 3rd. And the applicant's comments tonight. The proposed garage modification will replace the existing flat roof, which is close to 20 years old, with a safer, more efficient gable roof, thus eliminating any hot tarring issues going forward. The garage will also be reclad using the same brick as the main house, and the roof will be clad in slate tile to match the existing house. Justification and hardship, the existing garage exceeds the required, side and rear setbacks. Shared property line with 223 Clovery has a mature evergreen screen that screens the existing garage from the neighboring property. The variance is in harmony with and serves the intent of the purpose of the ordinance because the variance will not result in a substantial variation from the requirements of the ordinance. The variance will not result in increased population density.
The variance will not adversely affect the government services or character of the district. The proposed garage is in harmony with the construction of the type of surrounding residence. The variance will result in substantial justice being done because the hardship suffered if a variance is not granted would be significant. Property in question is unusual because it has an attached garage along with an existing detached garage, thus making the property truly unique. There are no other viable alternatives that will alleviate the safety hardship having to deal with a flat roof hardtop repairs in the future, which will require a safety permit, additional manpower from the fire department. In addition, the applicant needs the additional attic space to store specialized lengths of wood and decorative home things he uses in his woodworking hobby. Any new roof construction is required because of the existing size of the garage.
Practical difficulty is the roof is designed in this fashion to meet the existing garage's size.
And is not self-created. The existing detached accessory building will soon need repair and frankly is an eyesore when you compare it to the existing area homes. Approval of this variance is subject to the following conditions. Proper permits to be pulled for the project as required by the Department of Public Services. No water or bathroom facility will be allowed in the building. Board of Zoning Appeal hereby grants the foregoing variance without prejudice or precedent in any future of similar appeals. That is my motion.
We have a valid motion. Do I have support?
Support.
All right, Eric?
Councilmember Wood,
Yes.
Councilmember Conrad Wolverine.
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Yes.
Mayor Theros.
Yes.
Councilmember Donovan.
Yes.
Councilmember Zorza.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Goulet.
Yes.
Good luck with the project.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Do I have a motion to adjourn this zoning board of appeals?
Motion.
Support? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We reconvene as city council. Item 5, consideration of a consent letter and agreement with AT&T regarding the replacement of city hall generator at 90 Kirby Road. Shane or Matt, which one is this?
I'll start out with that one, chime in. The city was approached over a year and a half ago from AT&T, and they were interested in installing a generator to provide backup power to their equipment on our communication tower. We looked at the site plan and we thought it made sense. It looked good. Unfortunately, we have also contemplated replacing our generator at City Hall. And that the site they proposed was an ideal site for our use. And so we denied the request, but did say we would consider looking at a generator if it had enough capacity for a shared use that would also generate enough power to fully energize our City Hall public safety complex. Currently, we do have a generator, a small generator. It's a 5 kW generator for City Hall, shown in the lower left-hand side of that photograph. The idea is to install a larger generator that would 150 kilowatts that would be able to power our uses and AT&T's. They denied it originally. They said they don't do that. We kind of held off, and it paid off because they did come back and said they would be willing to install a generator that we could utilize. So before you is a letter of agreement with AT&T that would provide for the installation of a new generator at City Hall. The proposed location is included in the map. So it's really, if you look at the picture on the screen, it's next to the wall between the two doors along the wall of the public safety garage. And with the enclosure, a concrete enclosure, it will be properly screened. It will be within a cabinet for sound deadening. It will be much quieter than our current generator that was built in '88, about 35 years old. And we would propose eliminating the current generator. So really, I think, again, a win-win, a new generator that would meet all the city's needs, and also provide AT&T with backup power for customers, and our residents.
Anything to add, Matt? Questions from you?
Number one, I just want to congratulate the administration for negotiating this. This is quite a coup, and I think a real testament of that sort of leadership. So thank you. I did have one question, or first one. I looked on the plan, the site kind of map. I guess it's site plan A1. And obviously, what we see there, I just want to make sure I have an understanding of this space. So what we're seeing, the generator we're seeing there is the one that's says remove and scrap, correct?
Correct.
Now, there is a second generator from Verizon that says do not touch. Would that continue to be there?
That
In
would-
addition to the 150 kilowatt one that we're doing? So explain, so it's like they need two generators, is that how? it
Well,
works?
two different vendors. So the Verizon
Oh, I
generator is
see.
in
Verizon.
place. It's actually behind
Yeah.
those evergreens.
Gotcha.
So behind that hedge, it's actually there currently.
Mhm.
And so that will stay in place. And then the new generator will serve AT&T and City Hall.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to, yeah, if there's any way we can get rid of having a second generator, that would be great, but, and then I just wanted to verify, yeah.
You don't want to do that, no. It's Verizon customers would not appreciate it.
Well, I'm saying, but if you could get a generator that was big enough to deal with all the.
Well, I think it is, it's just until AT&T and Verizon merge.
Yeah, whatever, you know. We gotta, so anyways, and then I just wanted to make clear, so have we been maintaining the current generator?
We have.
Okay, so there's no additional cost there, and you already mentioned that the 100 kilowatt hours would cover all of City Hall's operations. The current one only does a small level.
Correct. Right now, it's essential function, so it handles dispatch, radio system. But I know we've had outages where we have a limited number of lights throughout the building. We, under emergency situations, we've actually had to use extension cords in some cases to bring power to computers and printers. So it will be a big benefit. It also helps us meet our goals of being accredited as a public safety department. That's one of the things that is part of that plan. And again, I appreciate the comments. It is a six-figure saving for the city when you look at the cost of the installation of that generator with the cabling, with the screening. Again, that will all be screened with a closure wall, correct to match the facade of the building. I think it will be a good project and serve us for many years to come.
This is a 10-foot high screen, correct?
Right.
Because the current one is not right. It'll be
It will be
above.
higher. It will cover the whole.
Cover the whole
generator. You won't see it.
Fine print says we all have to switch to AT&T customers.
It's one of their motivations. I think.
Yeah. Anybody else on council have a question? Anybody in the public have any comments or questions? All right, seeing no questions, public, and public comment is closed. Do I have a motion? Anybody?
I'll make a motion.
Left?
Motion to authorize the approval of the consent letter with AT&T for installation of a generator that will provide dual service to the City Hall and Public Safety Building in accordance with plans submitted to the city and referenced in the memo from Shane and Matt dated February 6, 2023.
Support anybody?
Support.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Great job to the administration. We'll hold up. Item 6, consideration of mid-year budget amendments for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2023. Mr. Rowland.
Thank you. These are just some minor mid-year budget adjustments through 6 months of the fiscal year. In the general fund, we have a reduction in property tax revenue due to veterans exemptions and tax tribunal cases. And that's going to be offset by increases in state share revenue, building permits, and traffic fines. We have expenditure adjustments in public works, $167,000 for additional tree trimming and plantings, temporary labor, fuel, and maintenance costs. And then a $16,000 increase in Parks and Rec for the media incentives offered to the pool staff. And that result is no change in the fund balance for appropriations. And in capital projects, this is actually really good news, $860,000 in additional revenue from the seawall grant as well as from the firefighters grant. And then 61,000 from a insurance payout on a police vehicle. And then additional drop in fund balance for 3 police cars that were budgeted and ordered last year, but not received till this year, so we drop in fund balance to pay for those.
Any questions? for Mr. Rowland?
Quick question, Louis, if I could. Tim, somewhere or another, we have to account for another tranche of federal grants, right?
The ARPA money?
Yes, ARPA.
Yes, that was budgeted in the general fund and transferred to the capital projects fund,
Okay.
but it's not been assigned to any project yet, so it's sitting out there. We won't
So
assign
it's
it.
still sitting out there and it's not affected by what we're talking about here.
Exactly, yep.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody in the public? Questions or comments on this agenda item? Seeing none, public comment is closed. We'll have a motion to accept the recommendations of our finance director. What? Is there other budget check?
I will do that. Motion to approve the proposed budget amendments detailed in Tim Rowland's memo dated February 13th, 2023, which reflects the current expectations of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year ended June 30th, ending June 30th, 2023.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, consideration of a request from the administration to approve the POLC bargaining agreement. Mr. Reside.
So we have 3 unions within the city. 2 of our other contracts have been settled. This is really a third group, or smallest group that is represented by POLC and represents our command officers. So it really just, it's only representing a total of 7 people, our 4 lieutenants and 3 lieutenants and 4 sergeants. We were successful in reaching a tentative agreement. We feel it's in line with what was approved previously by City Council for our public safety officers that are represented by the Police Officers Association of Michigan. And the terms are included in the memorandum. Again, following same duration and similar wage and longevity schedule as we've offered our other groups.
Any questions for Mr. Reside? Seeing none. All right.
Well done.
Yes, absolutely.
Really well done to get them all patterned together. We've got a great group. They should be happy. We should be happy. Thank you.
Tim and Derek were part of those negotiations, and I must say, you know, it's unusual circumstances. We get into our negotiations. It's you know, it's very civil. We talk frankly and good dialogue, and it's really a good group to deal with. So we're appreciative of that efforts on the union staff as well.
Knowing many police and fire departments are having trouble recruiting and retaining personnel, like substantial problems. It's really great that you guys got through all 3 of these negotiations, and you're gonna also what they deserve, earn every day. So thank you. Anybody in the public have any questions or comments on this agenda?
Give them more.
Things change when we retire.
It won't affect me, I just say.
Well, I was about to say, how about take some of your retirement days?
I move to create a special assessment.
All right, public comment is closed. Do I have a motion to approve item 7?
I move to approve the proposed contract with the Police Officers Labor Council as indicated in the memorandum. City Manager Reside dated February 13, 2023.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, consideration of an agreement for concessionaire services at Pier Park. Gladys is here. All right. I saw you there, Chris.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chris, you want to go up here?
Yeah, you don't have a mic.
I can yell.
Yeah. Not, you can't yell to the people out who are watching.
That's true. I forgot about that. Well, good evening. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I am happy to be standing here in February and not in April and May to do this. we were fortunate enough that we were able to get 2 bids that came in for the concessionaire services at Pier Park. As you may know, the last 2 years, we've been doing it at the last minute, and unfortunately, probably not giving the concessionaires enough time to plan, get organized, and be ready to go for Memorial Day. So we did have 2 bids, like I mentioned. We were able to review the bids. We formed a small committee that we reviewed the bids. We actually invited both of the bidders into the meeting to have them introduce themselves, explain their background, as well as what their anticipation is for the concession stand. So I thank those people that were part of that. There's members of our Parks and Harbor, as well as the council members that were able to attend that. After long discussion and after kind of getting the feel for those people, we really all came to the consensus that going with quad concession.
There was one vote, no.
We did have one, but
No.
I think the firm thing was that we had a right person or a right company to come in, do what we need them to do. I believe they're passionate. I believe that they're going to be very easy to work with. As many of you know, we partner with the concession stand for end of summer bash, regatta. And I personally felt that these individuals would be good to work with. That is where the committee kind of went. So we're here today to try and get that approval for Joe and Megan Steenland to come on board and be the new concessionaires. Megan and Joe currently run the concession stand at Civic Center Ice Arena in St. Clair Shores, and have done a good job over there from checking references and talking to people there. So that's what we're before you today.
I think the Stevens here.
Yeah.
You guys want to go up and say anything?
Sure.
Hi.
Oh, thanks for having us.
Thank you. So you have anything you want to add on? Any questions? Just wanted to see if you guys want anything.
I'm Joe, this is my wife Megan. As Chris said, we have been running the concession stand at Civic Arena hockey rink there in St. Clair Shores for about a year now. And from what we can see, everything's going really well. We've been successful, our customers are always happy, and that's what we're there for.
You bring any samples?
Will your fries be as good as they are for rain?
The menu looks very nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Any questions from council?
I just have a
Matt, or
comment,
Stevens?
really, just, Mr. Mayor,
Sure.
as part of the subcommittee that went through all the different questions and the answers that you gave. Let me just say that both of the bids were very good. They were very fortunate to have 2 bids. We love this couple, though, the majority of us, in that not only do you have a background that runs itself, but you have a community spirit, a real community spirit, and a real love for this park. And I think that really factored in as far as your passion for this and your dedication with it, in addition to your experience. Handling concession stands. So we welcome you. I can't wait to be there this summer and grab my stuff before I go on my boat. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'll just add, it was, just to reiterate, it was lovely to get to meet you guys on the call and to hear from all the other members of the Parks and Harbor Committee. I think for us, we're blessed again with 2 applicants. Thank you, Chris, and thank you to the whole team for kind of pulling those bids together. And I think we had a really hard choice in some ways because it was 2 very different directions for what we were imagining. And what the decision that the committee kind of reached was wanting this kind of mom and pop kind of business operation that understood that money is certainly matters and the kind of, if you can make a profit here, God bless. But really what this is about the community and what the community needs and wants and supports. So I'm just very excited to have you here. You guys run a great kind of operation up in St. Clair Shores, and I know you guys are Grosse Pointe Woods residents, and I think, Joe, you talked about having some experience down at the park growing up, or was that right?
My wife.
Your wife did, yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys know exactly the kind of vibe we're trying to create down there, so thank you so much for bidding on this, and we really look forward to it.
I just want to give kudos to Chris too. He really vetted this process very well. I was very impressed as far as how you ran this, your organizational skills with it, and to really vet it by getting, you know, some different recommendations, going to each person to try to look at their operations. Well done, thank you.
Louis?
Yep.
I'm looking at your menu and it was awesome, way better than what we had in the past, so.
Thank you.
And I think it's terrific that you're gonna be joining us, and I wish you the very best. I do have a question for Chris, and I guess for staff. If by any chance there's something here on this list that somebody doesn't want, is there gonna still be a food truck once in a while, or are we gonna just gonna forget that?
I don't know,
It's
the
a
public,
burrito
I can
somebody
state
wants.
the food truck scenarios that we're dealing with. Food trucks really don't like me right now, because we've kind of backtracked on them 2 years in a row with getting them to be at the park. So to answer your questions, I think during special events, regatta and the summer bash, as well as these two could probably do that. I think the amount of people that we're gonna have at those events are probably gonna warrant a food truck. So on those special occasions, I believe that we will have them. It won't be something that would be there every weekend or every other weekend or anything like that, but for special events, I envision that we will have two different ones.
Sounds good, thank you.
Joe Ritchie, I just want to say, personally, I'm there a lot at the rink. You have four grandkids in the St. Clair Shore system, and you do a fabulous job. And I really want to thank Neil and Beth for being involved in the search committee, because I felt real comfortable that they were, you know, looking at what we thought we would want from the family type organization. So I'm sure we'll be thrilled with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a quick comment on the menu situation. If you guys have any suggestions, we can always add and subtract. Any way you guys see fit, just to keep everybody happy. But don't forget, we're there mostly for the kids too. So.
Mayor Louis
I
special.
was about to put the George Carlin.
It's all about the kids.
It's all about us. All right, do I have a motion?
Sure, I'll make a move, I move that we approve the concessionaire for Pier Park, based on the memo, from, Chris Galatas, dated February 13th, 2023. That works.
Works. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations. Glad to have you. Dan Jensen will be glad to work the grill for you.
Work the bar. Oh, we know you worked out.
I would put you nowhere near working a bar. I need to make a profit. Volunteer somewhere. All right, is there anything on the consent agenda that anybody wants to remove for individual consideration?
Item E, Louis, please.
The annual planning report and work plan will be considered separately. Anybody else? All right, do I hear a motion? I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A, B, C, D, F, and G.
So moved.
Any opposed? I mean, support, please.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item E, receive the 2022 annual planning report and 2023 work plan from the city's planning consultant, McKenna and Associates. Shane? What questions do you have? Yeah.
Yeah, comment first, and then I guess the question. I think
Sure.
that this is, I look forward to seeing this. Is I think the second or third year we've had this report. I think if you can look back at what we have done, what we've accomplished, what we're planning on doing, a little bit of the format here. It's not overwhelming. It's a nice document. If somebody comes into Shane's office or comes down to see Matt at the counter there, you can say, look, here's what we've done, and this is what we plan on doing. I called Matt, and I guess I have a comment. There's nothing in the, and I'm gonna refer to the last page, page 5. After it says Mac Avenue Corridor Improvement Plan. Yes, we've been talking about doing that for a long time. Kurt Duval as well, and the Historic Study Committee we've been talking about, but there's nothing here that has reference to our sewer improvement plan. I think that is a major city planning effort that we've been undergoing for years and years now. And it might warrant, you know, a headline and then a brief description of the need for the work that we're planning on doing with HRC and the sewer improvement plan in the northwest quadrant. So I'm open to suggestions from council as to whether that might be appropriate or not, but I James, if you want to make a comment, I think that we could maybe amend this a little bit to make that happen.
But we are fortunate, Paul is here from McKenna today who helped put this together, and I think that would be something that we could include because it is such a major initiative, an infrastructural initiative. But I'll turn it over to Paul as our planner.
Absolutely, we'd be happy to do that. We sort of go on minutes and things that we participated in. But absolutely, we'll get whatever detail.
It's input from HRC and timing and everything. I think it's worth putting it in.
Would the same, I'm sorry, would the same be true with our, school?
It's not our school. You missed speak, Council.
The Wayne County.
Yes, Wayne County.
Seawall.
Seawall, yes.
Yes, all right, thank you.
Yes. All right, thanks, that's good. So with the addition of a section, TBD, I hear a motion to receive the report as submitted with this
I'll make
change.
that motion to receive this report as amended.
All right, any support? Support, all right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries, thank you. Thanks, Paul, for sticking around. You were psychic to know we were gonna talk about. We have in front of us, reports, item 10, from public safety and financial. Other business, Mr. Reside.
Two items, going back towards discussing the Mag Avenue Border Improvement Plan. There is a workshop scheduled for this Wednesday. It's being hosted by the Beautification Commission at the Pier Park at 7 p.m. To really go over OHM advisors who have been hired through the Eastside Community Network on behalf of the Grosse Pointes, Grosse Pointe City, Grosse Pointe Park, the Grosse Pointe Farms, and the city of Detroit to look at the Mac Avenue corridor, impacting the 5 Grosse Pointes bordering Detroit, the 3 Grosse Pointes bordering Detroit. And we encourage residents to attend. I sent a form, as did Councilman Donovan last month at Grosse Pointe City, give some input on what things we're looking for and potentially using that information to come up with a streetscape plan that we can seek funding for, either through the state, Wayne County ARPA funds or other sources. So invite people to attend that workshop. Last, it was discussed the city's intent to go out to bid after the first of the year for 2023 street repaving program. We said we'd come back this meeting and at least show what we had contemplated in terms of our program for this summer. And I've shared that with City Council. The main, and then you have some, okay, so you see some different colors on that map. Kind of the gray area is Kirby Road. That was completed on the first year of our program. That was a major project just because of it was really a total rebuild. We had to go very deep, went down some cases more than 1.5 feet to rebuild the base of the roadway and essentially a total redo. Last year's program, again, was in some areas more extensive as well. On Ridge Road particularly, we had to go fairly deep because our core samples indicated that the integrity of the subsurface was compromised, and to really get a good surface, we had to rebuild sections. And so that area in kind of that violet on Fisher Road and Ridge is what was completed last year. And then what is proposed for 23 is shown in that orange pinkish color. And essentially the main part of that is completion of Ridge Road from essentially Moran Road to Fisher, repavement of Pritchardville Avenue from Fisher Road to Ross, And then we have a couple smaller sections, one in Meriwether, and then sections of concrete road. And, can't read that. Newberry, thank you. Newberry. So that's, that is kind of where we are. We've gotten estimates already from HRC. You know, the fortunate part about this year's program is that most of it is a mill overlay, so we're only going down 2-3 inches and then rebuilding the surface. So it goes quicker, it's less disruptive, and we can get more roadway accomplished. But it's still, you know, a significant investment. Looks like approximately 2.6 million is the estimate. As we go out to bids, we'll look at unit costs. If unit costs come in favorably, we'll have an opportunity to add on to that list. But just wanted to give everybody an update where we are.
Shane, can I ask you about Newberry? It's all concrete.
Correct.
And even though it's not very long, it strikes me that that's gonna be expensive. So when they say here, 20% replacement. So here's, my thing is, I think it's gonna cost more than what we're looking at, because there's so many, I drive that road down to Lake Shore all the time. And it's fun. So is it gonna be full length thing, completely redone? Do you happen to know? I mean.
No, the intent is really to, you know, because it is concrete, it's a pretty solid road, but there are obviously areas that are deteriorated. And so those will be saw cut and new concrete will be.
So they're gonna pick and choose the places that are kind of crumbling and then repair that, rather than doing what we've done in the past on these other roads. Just go right straight through.
You can do that with concrete, but you can't do it with asphalt. That's the big one. It will work.
I'm glad that road is on this list. Well, I'll tell you, it's not a good road.
You know, there's, I think, a good contingency in there. I mean, there'll be areas that may, you know, will be, you know, we find that aren't as bad as we think when we get into it. There'll be areas that are worse than we think. But I think it's a good conservative estimate, and we're optimistic that we can, you know, achieve what we hope to achieve this year.
All right.
I
have two things.
You go ahead. Oh, I just had a question about timing and just I know we had issues with Ridge, and I will admit I'm sensitive because I'm right there on Moran between Ridge and Carnival. And so, like, are we just making sure that we can do the stuff with deliberate speed? I mean, obviously you don't want to do it overly fast.
I think some changes from last year's contract, again, the nature of the work is going to be less disruptive in general. But with that said, we also are going up a bit earlier than we did last year. And we are going to have some incentives built into the contract. So we are really, we were disappointed with delay after delay last year, and so there'll be some incentive clauses and some penalty clauses for not completing the time of
You know, something else just came to mind, Shane, and I think maybe it's important to let the residents know. The total value of the projects here is 2.617 million, 2.6 million. And the money that is raised from the 2 mills over the 5 years is going to be what, 1.8 of that?
Yeah, about 1.8.
About 1.8.
Right.
So, and then the remainder of that will come from our general fund investment.
Our roads allocation.
The roads allocation.
Probably, yeah, we did have, just some carryover dollars from last year that, will be part of that. But you're right, we are contributing in addition. Every penny that we raise from our millage is going back into the roads and then some, because we are also putting in our dollars from our general fund as part of these projects.
Right. Good. Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions on this topic? Right. Any other things?
Yes.
Shane, well, Shane, you've
No
done.
other.
Shane, could you give us an update on the sidewalk projects?
Okay. So sidewalks, so we're going to sidewalks. So we as part of our road programs, as we've done, roads, we've done work on Fisher and Ridge and Kirby, we've gone and have done sidewalk replacement. And so we kind of have built that, the timing, so we're hitting those areas at the same time. But in addition to that, we really have accelerated our program this past year. When DTE came in and they really were ripping out sidewalks, a substantial amount, percentage of our sidewalks with the new gas main project, we suspended our sidewalk replacement program. We've really in earnest in this past year have gotten back onto it. I think this past fall, we really focused on some of those sidewalks where we had a lot more vertical lift.
More than 2 inches is the legal standard for a trip hazard, so we focused on that.
I think we replaced about 100 slabs this fall, and we still have now a punch list to begin additional work in the spring. But it is becoming a focus for a program to actually pinpoint different areas. So we're hitting different areas throughout a 5-year cycle.
Now, is that the same contractor as the road guy?
No. No. It was on one road, but now this what we've done. What we did last fall, we're using Asphalt Control. It's our local concrete person.
All right.
Anything else, Sarah?
Yes. I'd just like to acknowledge that this month of February is the month that African Americans, the contributions that they've made to America are recognized. And specifically, Carter G. Woodson, the father of African American History Month, he was all about education. And he was the second African American to attend and graduate from Harvard. These past 3 weeks have been absolutely incredible, hearing stories about some of our seniors that happen to be African American that are going to Harvard. And so I just want to celebrate all of our young people that are contributing to the educational landscape right here in the farms.
Great, thank you. Anybody else on other business? I've got some. The council landing, hold on, I'll be right there. I'll throw a few things in. Winterfest, awesome. Yeah. Fantastic. Beautiful, sunny, but cold day, so it all fit. The ice sculptures were there. Good job to your team. It was spectacular. Second, I was present. The Grosse Pointe Congregational Church on Chalfont has a dinner theater now. Down in the renovated basement, so they have about 40 to 45 spectators allowed. And so they invited me and Patty to attend this weekend's theater, which starred our own Terry Davis's son, Chip Charles Davis, was in the play, amongst other Grosse Pointers, and it was an entertaining night. So we had a wonderful evening. And Pastor Richard wanted me to acknowledge that Grosse Pointe Farms has the first dinner theater in Grosse Pointe, and the park is not done theirs yet, so hoorah, farm. So he wanted to make that to be known. Grosse Pointe Congregational Church, down the street from you, on the left-hand side, the first church next to Brownell Field. Second, I guess third now, Shane and I attended the mayor's meeting last week with the mayors of Grosse Pointe and Harper Woods, and Warren Evans was a guest at our meeting at the Harper Woods High School CCI Center. And first I will say it's an incredible job what Harper Woods School District has done with the old Circuit City produce thing. It is a vocational program that they have there, everything from culinary to cyber security to building carpentry. Now they're building small homes and container homes, esports. So they do a wonderful program for the kids, and their superintendent Steve McGee is just phenomenal. It's a real joy to talk to. But we also had Warren that Shane and I cauliflowered his ears a little bit, discussed the seawall and the Mack Avenue landscape, because we're trying to get matching funds on the Mack Avenue project from the county, as we have money from the Farms Committee, we have money from Grosse Pointe City Committee, we have money from Grosse Pointe Park Committee, And we are meeting with the city of Detroit later this week to see what the city of Detroit's willing to put in. And then once all of us have a number, we've asked Wayne County to match that. So we're hoping to get, between $5 and $7 million total to start working on the Mac Avenue landscape. So that's exciting. We also did talk to the county executive about the seawall, yes. So those discussions are ongoing. So it was actually, I think it was good that, so Warren has been here now twice in the last 3 months. So he met with us at the Pier Park building to discuss the seawall, and then he joined us at this meeting. So I think he's got a new liaison for the east side, and I think that will hopefully get some more fruitful discussions on these topics. So some just stuff that's going on behind the scenes that Shane and I have been doing, thought you guys should be proud to speak on that. So it's all good in progress so far. Looks good. So that's all I've got. Andy, come on up.
And you feel 650. Just a couple of quick comments. I really appreciate reading the package. As Mike might have Tim had on the body change, very clear for me, right? For us, I could easily make it out. Kudos getting the generator, it's a shame. And I'd like to flip the police department in the budget. I'd like to see it again and every month to report.
Thanks, Andy. Anybody else? Nothing? Yeah, nothing? Perfect. Everybody? Come on.
Come on up. Come on up and tell us what happened.
Oh my God.
I just want to hear the story. You want to hear the story.
I literally just heard that my name is Carolyn Lozos. I recently moved back to the farm 9 months ago with my husband and young kids. And
What's the address again?
274 Kirchhoff Avenue, just a block away from here. And I had not slept through the night in 3 weeks because we had an attempted home invasion over MLK weekend. And luckily we have security cameras in our house around the perimeter. So we immediately had the license plate and the faces of the suspects. But what happened was 4 men drove into our driveway, backed into our driveway, and ran around our property in our backyard and used one of our bricks to shut off our power meter in our backyard. And this is at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I heard the noise. It jolted me awake. I checked our security cameras right away, and sure enough, saw these men in our backyard, not DTE men, but thieves. So called 911. Of course, they were here in 5 seconds because we live right around the corner. And they were fabulous, helped us immediately. We got the license plate number immediately. It was very quick, very gracious, and very thankful for the police force for being so responsive and the detectives that have been helping us with the case. So it's been very traumatic for me. It's been, I've got 2 young kids who are all asleep upstairs. We live in the farms, it's a very safe place, but we were very shaken by what happened. So I'd like to turn this, I call it trauma. I mean, it really has been traumatic for me, but turn this trauma into something positive for the community. And I'd like to do a community safety night of some sort, or would like to get ideas too for how we can increase safety awareness in the community. I hear a lot from friends, especially, my parents' generation, who say, I never lock my doors. It's like, well, we're not invincible here in Grosse Pointe Farms. Things do happen. Cars get stolen. Garages get broken into. People are out and don't have the best intentions. So how can we increase safety in our community? How can we increase that awareness? Is it through a community safety night, or is it something different? I'm got some ideas, but I would also like your ideas too. So
just so you know, we're going to be doing a safety presentation at the Helm in June.
safety in the home. We did one last year, so we're gonna do another one for seniors this year at the home. But we can look into branching out into something, beyond that as well. But we're gonna be doing something first week of June, I think it is,
Great.
at the helm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I've been also been talking with the family center, and they were interested in partnering with me on this idea. And so, great.
Great.
Is anybody invited to the helm, or is it just helm members?
You might want to talk to them.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if they're taking names, and obviously they have a capacity there, but this will be the second year we've done it. We're gonna have detectives there, myself, Andy.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have a pretty good handful of people there.
Okay, great.
So.
Oh, yeah, so sorry this happened, just truly, I mean, no, it's, trauma's the right word.
Mr. Mayor, may I just say
Yeah.
something?
Yeah.
Carolyn's moving back. And I know Carolyn, I saw her at a Super Bowl party. And then she told me about this, I said, just come and give your thoughts. That's what farmers resident should be doing, right? But when they were contemplating moving, to go to Point Farm, she asked the question, it's still pretty safe, isn't it? So, nothing's gonna happen to you. So it means that we're all vulnerable. And I think that your suggestion of some type of public safety net somewhere, that's just not senior citizens. I mean, I live on Ridgemont Road, we've had, 3 different situations go on there, and that's probably more than 3. So it's a good idea. I think we should explore it.
Mr. Mayor, through the chair to Chief Hutchins, Director Hutchins, what's the status of the investigation?
It's ongoing. I don't want to comment on the specifics of it during the course of the meeting that's being broadcast live.
Fair enough.
But Detective Brzezinski, who's a bulldog for details, is on the case. Is probably the best person for it, as former Director Jensen can attest to as well. Roger's one of the best. He's familiar with local prosecutors, Wayne County prosecutors, detectives and officers across the Tri-County area, the tendencies of certain types of cases and what it takes to effect charges in certain types of criminal investigations, so he knows what he's doing. It's still under investigation. Yeah.
Just, I'm looking at our January report. Obviously, this is something that happened in February, not January, so it's not gonna be in there, but I think it's important for people to be cognizant of what can happen. And I think it's also really helpful when you look at these data to get a sense of the likelihood of stuff happening. It is incredibly unfortunate that it happened to you, but I assume this would be considered a robbery, right, of some kind?
Right now, it's tampering with a meter.
Okay, got it.
Right now.
Yeah. So the point is it's critical that we're conscious of it and we encourage people to do things to be safe. But it is also important that people understand that this is and continues to be a very safe community overall.
Right.
And that is not that has a lot to do with our public safety team. So thank you for that.
And we're not questioning what the intent of the individuals was. It's following up on being able to prove things. So. Right.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you
very
Thank
much.
you for your time.
Anybody else in the public? All right, see none.